Welcome back to Miss Teacher Tube with Janice Leong. On today's episode, we're going to start exploring measurement. In grade 2, we're going to start by looking at non-standard units of measurement. So we're not going to pull out our rulers and measure things. That's going to come later on. Right now, we're going to talk about measuring things in non-standard units, like snap cubes, or measuring them in pencil lengths, or measuring things in paperclip lengths. Grown-ups use all kinds of non-standard units to measure things. We're also going to be comparing the lengths of things and organizing things from tallest to shortest, or shortest to tallest. So we're going to be doing a lot of organizing things according to length and measuring things and comparing things in non-standard units. We're also going to learn how to measure to the closest non-standard unit. Sometimes measurement's not a perfect thing, and we have to do the closest unit, so it's about this length, not exact. And we'll get the hang of it. I'm excited to get going on today's episode, so I will see you soon. Let's go over some math vocabulary. So let's look at longer and shorter. If we're comparing two objects, we need to line the two ends of one side up. You can see that the white eraser side of the pencil, I have lined up with the end of the pink pencil crayon. You can see by the sharpened ends that the yellow pencil is longer than the pink pencil crayon. Therefore, the pink pencil crayon is shorter. Now let's compare the pink pencil crayon and the red marker. If we line them two up, matching the bottoms so they're perfectly even, we can see that the pink pencil crayon is now longer and the red marker is shorter. We can look at length yet another way. We can take a look at length by turning our objects around the other direction and lining the bottom up. We can see that the base 10 rod is shorter, that's the green rod, is shorter than the orange pencil crayon. The orange pencil crayon is then longer. We can also use the word taller to describe it. So taller or longer, we can use those words interchangeably. Now, if we are comparing a group of objects, we can now use words like longest, longer, shorter, shortest. But you still need to line all of them up so the bottoms of all the items are perfectly lined up with one another. And then we're looking at the top when we're doing our measurement. So the yellow pencil would be the longest. The orange pencil crayon would be longer than the red marker, which is shorter, and the shortest one of them all is the black marker. Welcome back. Before we even get started looking at things being measured, I want to talk to you a little bit about the snap cubes. So when we're looking at a group of snap cubes, you can see this top little bump that connects our cubes together. This little bump is not part of the measurement. If you're measuring by snap cubes, it stops at the top of the cube. This little connecting part does not count as part of your measurement. So that way you can count the number of cubes to the top. So this is not a counting part. Now, the second thing I want to tell you is when we're measuring, it is important that we line our items up properly against what we're using to measure them with. So in this case, we're using snap cubes. Let's say I'm measuring my glue stick. So I'm not going to measure like this because that's not a proper measurement because there's a little problem at the bottom. They're not lined up properly. I'm not going to measure like this because again, the snap cubes are way higher than the glue stick. If you look at the bottom, it's not a proper way of measuring because the base is not lined up. The best way to measure is, to the best of your ability, line up your bottoms so they're exactly starting at the same point, and then count your snap cubes up. Now, I can use a table to line them up, or I can just carefully lay them down and make sure that the bases, the bottom, is lined up properly. And then I can count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 snap cubes tall. But you can see it's not a perfect measurement. The snap cube is still a little taller than the glue stick. So I think it would be fair to say about 6 snap cubes long. So if I'm looking at another example, let's say I want to measure my eraser for my whiteboard. I'm going to, again, line the bases up. The base, again, is the bottom. And I'm going to snap my snap cubes together. Again, it's important that there's no big spaces, like you don't want to loosely connect them. You don't want to lay them side by side. You want them to be all snapped together nice and tight. Again, we're not counting this little knob on the top. That's not part of my measurement. But I'm going to line them up with the bases exactly starting at the same place. And then from there, I can count up. So I'm going to lay it down and do my counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you can see my white snap cube is a smidgen taller than my eraser brush. So I would say about, because it's closer to being the total amount that I have snapped together here than it is to being a smaller amount. You can see if I were to take that top snap cube away, now all of a sudden the measurement is way off. So it is closer to all of the ones I had snapped together. So let's count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my eraser brush is about 7 snap cubes long. Again, for the vocabulary words, long, short, long would be bigger, but bigger in terms of how tall it is, or how tall it is this way if it's laying down. Smaller or shorter would be this way. So if I want to make my snap cubes shorter, I would take some away and it's shorter. If I want to make it longer, I would connect them together. If I want to compare the length of the two, well, I've already measured them, so let's compare their snap cubes. Ooh. Well, I think the brush is definitely longer and the glue stick is shorter. Okay, I'm going to let you get started on some activities and I will see you soon. Welcome back. I just want to review. We're now going to be doing activities measuring to the closest unit. Remember my examples? Remember that this was not a perfect measurement. If you look at the base that's all lined up with my eraser brush, it's not a perfect measurement to the top of that white cube. It is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I've chosen 7 because if I look at them and I take that 7th one off, all of a sudden there's a big difference in length. If I snap it on, it is closer to the length of 7 together than it is 6. It's still closer to that. So I'm going to go with about 7. And the closer part is, if you get to about halfway through the next cube or more, go with the larger number as your about measurement. Okay, let's take a look at my glue stick again. Again, not a perfect measurement. If you look very carefully at it, the snap cubes are taller than the glue stick, but still, the glue stick is going more than halfway through that last cube. Can you see that? So my best measurement would be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 snap cubes. If I were to take that off and go with the measurement of the smaller amount of snap cubes on the line, let's see, line up the bottoms, all of a sudden, it's not even close to the same measurement. So, going one bigger and saying about gets me to the closest unit of measurement. Go ahead and try the activities coming up. See you soon. Well, we've come to the end of another Miss Teacher Tube episode. I hope you remember what you've learned because you're going to need all these skills for the next lesson I have for you on the next episode. Remember, longer, shorter, shorter, longer. That's all for today. We'll see you next time. And again, if these episodes are useful to you, please like and subscribe. I'll see you soon.